everybody, to Corner 3, the best basketball podcast on the planet, brought to you by Fan By What the Deal Be. I hope everybody's doing well out in the world. I hope you're washing your hands, washing your butt. I hope you're not double dribbling when you do that in the
Gross.
world. Please don't do that, because that is pretty damn gross. I am one of your hosts, Khalif Adams. I am rocking the show with my man, my mellow, the smooth kind of fellow, Nikki Hookshot Grayson. What the deal be?
Nothing's good. Everything's great right now.
Word. John, Chicken Dinner Warren. What the deal be, John? How's everything going?
You know what? Everything's doing really great. Thanks for asking.
I mean, I'm happy that you're all here again in the shortest week of all weeks in 2020.
Yeah,
it has been fantastic to again reconvene with both of you to bring your wonderful conversations and dopeness to this conversation. Again, if you are at home and have not listened to Corner 3, make sure you are checking us out on all podcast platforms. If you are on Apple Podcasts specifically, please leave us a 5-star review so we can put that on our wall and our board of greatness. And our board of love that we show to all the people who come by our houses, not in the pandemic, because that's not what happens.
I have, at the end of every month, I hire a calligrapher to come to my home, and I send him JPEGs of the best comments on iTunes. And he comes into my home, and he does the calligraphy, and I have just a wall of very kind comments.
That is so much better than the like Oliver Twist shit that I do when I have people come to my.
Was that a better joke than the one I made the last time we tried to record this?
I mean, your jokes are always hit high. You always have a high bar.
I didn't even go for mine, so it's good that one of us did it. So good job.
I see. This is the reason why we love you so much, Nikki. Because you bring the heat. Damn it! Every time you're on stage, it is like we're on Clubhouse, but 24/7. It's basically that. If you missed our last show, we had a conversation around Colin Sexton and kind of the up and comers in the league, talking about how they are kind of bridging the gap from expectation to the way that they've actually been performing. This week, we're going to be talking about kind of the overarching conversation around how various teams around the league have been doing. Everyone is coming to the league in this season with some expectations about how they're going to do. Some have exceeded those expectations. Some have definitely not met them. We have not gotten to the All-Star break, but it is coming up pretty quickly in terms of where we find ourselves within the season. I kind of want to start the conversation off talking about what teams are, surprising us with some of the play that they've done, kind of led by their superstars, or some new folks who we've not heard from before, and then bookend that with some of the folks who are kind of really disappointing and why that part of the conversation is happening. So, Nikki, who are some of the folks on your always winning, never losing Lakers? As part of the conversation, oh my gosh, sweet Jesus, that are doing well. And
you said it, not me.
I mean, there's a gun behind me. It's the reason why this shot is so close, because you can't see the hitman dude behind me with the Lakers short shorts on.
Agent 47 with short shorts on.
Agent 47 and a half, which is LeBron's age. But we're not going to talk about that in terms of this show. But the Lakers, of course, come into the season with some high expectations, and we know that they're doing well. Who are some other teams that you've seen so far that are kind of exceeding expectations, or kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing right now?
I thought the Sixers were going to take some more time to get going, because new coach, I wasn't sure about how much progression Joel Embiid had made over the 3-week off season. Ben Simmons was constantly in and out of trade talks as they were trying to get James Harden. So I kind of thought that chemistry on that squad was going to be absolutely terrible for at least a couple of weeks, that they were going to just kind of skate by, but they look good. And Joel Embiid looks like an MVP candidate to me.
Yeah.
And also,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, and also the Jazz they've won 10 games in a row, which should be illegal.
That's nuts. See, I feel like we're gonna circle back on the Jazz once John gives his thoughts on kind of where things lay.
I mean, I think surprises, I would say the Miami Heat. We talked about them briefly last time, the defending East champions. I believe their record the past 10 games is 2-8.
Is that good?
Great. That's not great. I mean, they've had some issues, but I mean, I still think a team of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo would be doing a bit better than this. I think That's been a surprise. There's still a team that I think at the halfway point we'll be talking about as probably still being in the mix. I don't think that they're really going to have this kind of one season turnaround like this. But that's been definitely a surprising team. To circle back on the Lakers for 1 second, Nikki, though, if you don't mind me asking, I didn't see the game. How did the Pistons game go? I'm sure that was like a big blowout.
It looks like. Hello?
Did you get
John?
that? Hey, Khalif,
John?
is the stream still up?
Everything seems to be working fine.
Everything's still
John.
going. Okay, Nikki, can you hear me, bud?
Oh, hey, I can hear you now. What did you say?
Yeah, so how did the Lakers and Pistons game go?
Weird. You cut out again. Listen, dude,
Okay,
I don't know.
Listen, I'll tell you what happened. There was a massive second half collapse, and the Detroit Pistons, who are one of the worst teams in the league, beat the Lakers. And to me, they looked. This was different than the Golden State game. To me, they looked vulnerable in a way that I had not seen the Lakers look all year. What's up?
It hurts when you don't put the ball in the hole for over 6 minutes. That's kind of in the fourth quarter. That's gonna kill you.
Yeah. You still want to score points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you right? Still do want to typically get the ball in during the last 1/4 of the game. Right. Listen, I don't know. This seems like I can't identify what it is because I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, what's
it's inexcusable. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what's a team that surprised you, Khalif? I'm definitely curious about what you think.
I mean, I'm kind of looking through the standings too, and looking at both kind of West and East, and I'm actually surprised the Spurs are doing as well as they are. They're in 5th place right now. You know, everyone's kind of left them for dead. You know, once DeRozan. DeRozan should still be on that squad. I think
DeRozan's still there. So is Lamarcus. You know, they got a combined age of 104. But hey,
yeah.
I mean, DeRozan has been actually, when I think about where his game has always been, he seems to be more in this kind of really interesting utility position as opposed to being in that kind of star role that we expect him to be after coming out of Toronto and doing work there. It's funny you talk about Lamarcus because I feel like Lamarcus is still. Like he just winds up not doing a lot, but still being really, really competent. Yeah. He like very concise movement is the way I like to say it. That's another term for slow as shit.
But nobody talks about Lamarcus Aldridge, but he consistently, except for like his second year in San Antonio, he like consistently produces.
He's like, quietly a very consistent producer. I always, for some reason, Lamarcus Aldridge and Al Horford occupy the same.
They're the same guy to me.
They have the same kind of game for sure.
And they have the same kind of game, and you still look at Lamarcus Aldridge versus Al Horford. And listen, Horford has had a better season this year now that he's out of that Philadelphia situation. I think that Philly situation was addition by subtraction. I got Al Horford out of there. He was not a fit with Joel Embiid at all, and now he's in a better position. But Lamarcus Aldridge has always just quietly had this kind of majestic career that I think we'll look back on when he retires. He hasn't had like a great season, but DeMar DeRozan, like I think that trade that basically swapped DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard, there was this feeling I felt like that, you know, there was this idea of kind of equal value being, you know, traded. Like, you know, I don't think anyone actually thought, but it kind of seemed that way. That's like star for star. But I've never really looked at DeMar DeRozan as being like exactly that kind of superstar player. Yeah. I just see him as being an incredibly good piece of a team that needs support around him. And a lot of that young talent that San Antonio has amassed is starting to come around, it feels like. As much as I hate to admit it. But
Patty Mills still there somehow. Feels like Patty Mills has been in the league for 145 years, but I think he's like 28.
Patty Mills is like the best Pokemon version of a mix of Tony Parker and Terrence Trent D'Arby. that I could ever think of in my life. It feels like those two combinations of a human being are exactly what you get when you
Nikki
mix
has
those
absolutely
two.
no idea.
No
who that
fucking
second
clue.
person was.
It's very
I,
funny.
that-
I
though.
love how
really
Nikki has no clue about who that is. We're gonna have to have a second post show that just shows Nikki old people shit.
Yeah.
It's just like Terrence
Incredible.
Darby. Who is that?
Nikki, just so you know, Terrence Trent D'Arby did a song called "Wishing Well." It's very good. You should go look it up. His career was undone when he announced that he was going to be bigger than the Beatles after his first album came out. And
Then how'd that go?
He didn't really go very well. But
Here's
that's
the
okay.
interesting
It was a
part.
song. That's a good song, though.
It was a great song for one, and two, because I can probably say this because I'm an adult and I'm in Oregon. My wife and I were extremely high one night, and we talked about Terrence Trent D'Arby, and we looked him up. One, he still has a singing career. Two,
Yeah, he does.
he has a new name, which I forgot, which is also unreasonable and ridiculous. He
Oh, I
changed
didn't
his
know
name.
that.
Yes, he changed his name. I guess maybe to duck the Grammy FBI folks to be able to
To duck the SEO, that is, you said you were going to be bigger than the Beatles.
Yeah, he was wishing nobody else would see his ass. That's basically he was wishing for. But he has a new name, and some of his music is even more wild.
Congrats to him.
Congrats to him. You know, everyone has a new start. I think in terms of conversations about new starts too, I think when we talk about teams that we had expectations for that kind of have either sustained or feel like they're kind of on the uptick, the Warriors to a certain extent have been playing really good ball of late. Of course, they go as far as Steph goes. He's still just throwing things up and then turning around now, even watching the ball go in and they go in. We talked a little bit about him last week, but I think in terms of seeing Draymond kind of get back into the mix, and in terms of them kind of feeling like they're gelling around Oubre, which I feel like is currently their linchpin right now in terms of offense and also kind of like energy in the squad. They're doing fairly well too, which I think is actually pretty cool to see. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say this Warriors team reminds me of the Warriors team before Steve Kerr started coaching.
Oh, the Mark Jackson squad?
Yeah. Not in scheme, but in like the guys they have. And it just feels like they're kind of knocking on the door of something.
Yeah.
That's not going to like happen this year, but
are we talking like
it is
Baron Davis era Warriors or like right after?
No, I'm talking like right before the season and a half before they hired Steve Kerr.
So they still had Steph and Clay, but they hadn't really hit that spark yet. Steph didn't really know he was the man yet until Kerr kind of.
I mean, can you imagine this team if Klay Thompson's healthy? Like,
different.
That's scary.
Completely different
that's really
conversation.
scary. You got Wiggins, you got Oubre, you've got James Wiseman is probably one of the Rookie of the Year candidates. You've got Steph, and then you've got Clay. But yeah, this team really scary next year to me.
Yeah.
Is like Wiseman with a year under his belt, and then these younger players stepping into it. I mean, Oubre I think is still like 24 or something. So like this is
so
young team. Yeah,
so young. I think one of the other teams that I feel like is kind of on that precipice of trying to kind of eke themselves in is the Hawks. I feel like they are actually bringing some interesting kind of energy to the league in a lot of different ways. I feel like the way that they've been playing, and Trae Young is still feeling like he's kind of coming into his own in that position. I wonder though, because it's such a weird spot too, because they still have Clint Capella, who I'm still not sold.
He's still in the league.
Yes, he is.
That's like when I found out that Trevor Ariza was in the league as recently as 2 years ago.
that might be next. That might be next episode 4. Is like he's still in the league. That'll be like the name of the episode. But they have a weird team, right? So they have Gallinari, who again, that's one of my he's still in the league. Bogdanovic, Rajon Rondo, which again is a great veteran pickup who's supposed to kind of usher Trae into what he needs to do. They feel interesting in that way. I guess my favorite picture was the one that I don't know if you sent me this, John, or if somebody else sent me this, was of Kevin Huerter wearing the MLK jersey.
That was
Oh my god, that was last week before.
Oh my god, that just made my
It's art. It's a good JPEG.
Oh god. I mean, if there was anybody I wanted to be at the front of the bus, it would be Kevin. But he looks like he would definitely fight for me.
Oh no, Nikki! Oh no!
Yes. For the folks who are not seeing the video version of this, I got Nikki to take his headset off, which is a great.
I mean, Kevin Horner wearing that MLK jersey should be a reply image to like every white person that quotes Martin Luther King without like any sort of understanding of his actual viewpoints. Like it really needs to be a reply image for all of those people.
I feel like if you were gonna do a phrase as a wiki and have a wiki page for a phrase, the phrase right. "I voted for Obama" would just have that picture of him in the MLK jersey.
I would have voted for him for a third term if I could have. It's just a photo of
absolutely. I celebrate Kwanzaa too. God damn it. Anyway,
I mean the thing with the Hawks though, they're sitting right now at 500. They're the 7th seed in the East if the playoffs were to start today.
Yeah,
they loaded up in the offseason.
Yeah,
they got Gallinari, they got Bogdanovich. The fact that team isn't, I think, clearly much better,
right,
scares me a little bit. In terms of like the development of that team, like there are some shooters on that team that like, you know, they're not hitting as high percentage as they should. Trey is still playing a little bit more selfishly than I think that team is constructed to be. Like, I don't think that team is built for him to score 45 points a night.
No,
that team is built for him to distribute a little bit more to those shooters. And I think he's still kind of a selfish player. He's an exciting player. And not to segue it, I actually have the same vibe with the Mavs right now. I've got a beef right now with kind of how Luka's playing, and he seems to be aware that he's playing kind of selfishly because he said as much in interviews. But this team is 8-10. They've gotten their teeth kicked in against the Jazz, and they're probably going to get it. They're probably going to get it again tonight.
Yeah.
As we record on a Friday afternoon. They don't look super good. Now, COVID has really dismantled this team. They've had a lot of had basically shifting lines of players being out because of COVID protocol. Because everything's bigger in Texas except for the masks, I guess. But they've just had a lot of their depth kind of hamstrung because of these COVID shifts. But at the same time, I look at Luka and the Mavs, and I'm like, Rick Carlisle's teams are always built for depth. And if you even remotely strip that depth away, Mavs teams fall apart pretty quick. And Luka's not the superstar he's got to be. And it reminds me a lot of the early years of LeBron's career, where people started to wonder aloud if this guy was a winner, if he was just a great player and exciting, or if he was a winner. And so that's not what makes me worry in the long term for Luka, but like in this early going, Trey and Luka kind of occupy that same space of two spectacular talents that like are probably still 3 or 4 years away from being like killer instinct guys. So those two teams are kind of interesting to me.
Well, I'm happy you made that pivot, because I think one of the, again, I'm looking at the standings for the season. And from the East, it's really kind of nuts to see some of the teams that are kind of in the lower half of that bracket, right? We still have the Bulls, which were supposed to be on their resurgence tip, and they were supposed to be kind of like making that move to kind of moving into the middle of the pack in a reasonable way. I felt like they were going to be the team that was supposed to kind of supplant the Celtics out of that spot. I didn't expect the Cleveland to even be in the mix at all in terms of where we were early this season. Wizards. Ooh! Wow!
Team of the year, baby!
Wow,
now that's good.
Talk
about chemistry. Talk about ball movement.
But here's, you want to see those things. Here's the weird thing about that, right? No one had them on their lists to be good this year.
No,
no one had them on their list. If you did, you're a liar. Because I'll just call it out early. Like that is the most nonsensical thing to have said. But I think there was some hope with Russell Westbrook moving over to there, and he and Bradley Beal being that tandem that they wanted for a long time, because for some reason they couldn't get it done with John Wall. and all those kinds of things. So, what's the deal with the Wizards right now? Like,
I know what it is. John, do you know what it is?
I do, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and go with it.
Russell Westbrook is bad at the game basketball now.
He's done.
really?
I'm
Y'all-
telling-
I feel bad. It's like he's done. I've watched 3 Wizards games this season, and
Sorry.
he's done. Like
Really?
if he's not going to develop a jump shot late into his career, and he's going to keep going, he's going to keep. I watched 5 videos this morning of him just getting the ball slapped out of his hand as he starts to drive toward the elbow. Like that's it. Like
Yeah.
these players are swatting the ball that are not major. They're not world beating defenders. I'll just say that, and they're stripping him easily. Bradley Beal is one of the best offensive players in the game. Washington should, in my opinion, take some real stock, get a ton of picks for Bradley Beal, and I would frankly look at moving Russ again to a team like Orlando, who lost Markelle Fultz for the year, and like maybe Russ can be a guy to to bring that team together a little bit, because they're on the outskirts. Like they can't tell if Orlando's good or not, and I think they were better with Fultz out there. Fultz has gone for a while, and maybe they get maybe Washington just like loads up with draft picks and they just start over, because this team is trash right now. So
Who do you give Bradley Beal to? Like who's gonna have draft picks that are good enough to justify?
Let's go Knicks. No, that's not gonna happen.
I mean,
it would be.
maybe, though.
I mean, think about this though. I mean, so let's play the scenario out super fast, right? The two things that keep people from New York are James Dolan, and
right.
I think right now, with the Knicks being still probably close to the best defensive team in the league, the kind of grossness that was usually around the franchise feels like it's a little bit lifting, because they're doing some cool stuff and doing some good stuff. And Thibodeau is a person that everyone understands is going to be someone who's going to drive that conversation. Beal, from a name standpoint, is still a mid-tier star who could go there undercover, do a lot of good work. And I can see people wanting to go to New York to play with Bradley Beal, especially after he dropped 40. He's been dropping like 40 point games every other night. And then he dropped a 60-point game the other night too. Right. Yeah. So like, it could be a scenario where it would work in a reasonable way. And they're talking about trading him anyway, from what I've heard earlier today, basically giving him the green light to say, wherever you want to go, we will honor it if you want to go somewhere else.
If
the Los Angeles Lakers.
No.
Straight up like post us. He can just take Kostas' spot. Listen, the only reason we had that man on the roster was because Giannis was going to be a free agent, right? Not anymore.
Here's a good question for you both.
Get rid of him.
Here's a good question for you both. Would you trade Bradley Beal for CJ McCollum?
No.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Those two players, similar games. CJ...
That kills CJ's career, though.
That throws him to Siberia, basically.
Yeah, that's like sending him to NFL Europe. Like, why would you do that?
I don't think I do, and here's why. Is because I think Bradley Beal has spent the past 3 seasons overcoming the perception that he was the number 2 guy. Like he kind of overtook Wall in the consciousness of that fan base, I think. McCollum's a number 2.
Yeah.
McCollum is a number 2 now. And he's a good player. I think I agree with you. I think they have similar profiles. And I think if CJ McCollum is on that Wizards team, we might be having the same conversation about CJ McCollum being traded somewhere else, sitting out.
Interestingly enough,
I think he's good.
I think I agree with you to a certain extent. I think moving CJ to a place like the Wizards makes him then a number 1 in a real way.
Sure.
In a real way.
It does.
Because I think Bradley, I still don't think of Bradley as a number 1 guy.
Right.
Which is the hard part, right? Because it's that weird moniker of like, are you the dude who's supposed to one, lay all the blame and all the gratitude for if you start getting wins and kind of raising the profile of a team, but also going along with that, can you bring other people with you, which I don't know Bradley has the cachet to do. Not in the big named version of it. And I don't know if there's enough people on the teams that we're thinking about putting him on to get him across that goal, except for the Blazers, or the Spurs, or let's go back to the Eastern Conference, or I do believe, you know what? I like the call on the Magic. That would definitely,
the Magic, I think, is an interesting move.
That would probably move them at least to a 5 spot.
Oh, I think
but then those draft picks though,
yeah.
What I would do, I think when I'm looking at these standings, they're in the basement right now, but they don't have to be. I say New Orleans. I think New Orleans sends draft picks to
some of the 38 million they got from me.
38 million. They could shed some cap by trading Lonzo. And maybe Jackson Hayes or someone young that is good but not great right now. And then instantly that lineup becomes Drew Holiday, Bradley Beal, Brandon Ingram, and Zion. That's
a good basketball team.
That's a pretty good basketball team. So I don't know. I would look at moves like that. I still think Orlando is an interesting pick. I mean, if not to just shed Westbrook's dead weight, to maybe send Bradley Beal there. But yeah, Washington's got to get something for him because they're not going to build a team around Bradley Beal right now. They're just not going to do it. Yeah. They don't seem able to do it. So they need to load up on picks so that fan base has something to hope for.
Yeah. Okay. On this same grind, let me hit you with this. Where the Nets send Kyrie Irving, who needs to go? If I were the Nets.
Ooh.
Kyrie Irving, next year's first, and a pick swap in 2020, whatever the next year is, for Bradley Beal straight up.
It makes them
the numbers don't work.
It makes them a better team.
It makes everybody wins.
Yeah, I mean, except for Kyrie.
But
Kyrie
who cares? Hold on, let me put these numbers into the trade machine.
What about the Clippers?
See if it actually works. But I think
the Clippers. Shut up. Yeah, I did. Shut up. Fuck off.
So what if it's Kyrie and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and then that's just kind of an interesting team.
I'm scared
out there in LA.
I want the Clippers to be good.
I'm scared.
But here's the weird thing. Now we pushed Nikki into the abyss.
Stupid. I can't believe you said those words out loud. I'm so mad.
Right? Clippers are in second place right now. Right? Which I'm still even astounded that they're in second place because it feels like everyone called them dead from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, they're used to that being second best.
I mean, it's funny because I was watching they are. I saw across my timeline today, someone was reminiscing about Lob City. And I remember that era of Clippers with,
that was fun.
With Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and all that kind of stuff as being in that mix. But I think in terms of where Bradley could go to have an instant impact that would raise the profile of a team and put them into some really nuts kind of contendership, the Clippers would be a dope move for them in an actual big way.
That's why it won't happen.
Grizzlies are at 6 right now. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it was never going to happen. Grizzlies who are at 6. I don't even know who's on the Grizzlies besides Morant.
Well, John Morant. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr.
Valanciunas.
They've got some good core players. Stupid. But Ja's the guy, right? I think you want to set him up to make sure that he is the guy. If Bradley Beal can come in and be the scorer that is the recipient of a lot of those driving passes, then cool. If he wants to come in and be the guy, I think that is actually a bit of a mistake because I can see this team being very good with that core in a couple of seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, also don't overthink it. If you can get Bradley Beal on your team, maybe you just do it. You don't worry about the chemistry aspect of it. But I don't know. It's an interesting. Some of it is that like I don't really have a sense of who Bradley Beal is like as a person. Like he seems pretty chill to me. Like when I've heard interviews with him, like he seems obviously patient with the situation. He's not like in the press every single day saying that his team is trash and he wants to be traded.
He's not James Hardening his way out of this basketball team.
No. Yeah. And he seems like a cool dude. So like, he may be chill. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think this may be a lot of pressure for the Wizards fan base to get something out of his star power before he inevitably leaves after his contract is up.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to go back to Russ for a hot second because I'm still chewing on the way we talked about Russ in kind of not the usual ways that we talk about Russ, right? Which is usually we talk about him being a kind of head case player, right? He's like, I need everything. I'm the person who has the destructive behavior to kind of do that thing. It's like Harden and Russell, are the two ticking time bombs on most teams that you put them on to kind of blow up a squad. It's actually really interesting to hear you, John, talk about mostly about his actual game being the problematic part as opposed to him in the issue. It's wild. Yeah. I'm just running that back through my mind of like, oh yeah, he doesn't have a jump shot, and oh yeah,
no. I mean, when I look back at the Thunder getting blown up, and people have made this point and will continue to make it.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest stories in NBA history. Honestly, like when you really think about like those three superstars, probably just with some patience and some actual forethought from that management team, I think they could have won. I can't believe I'm going to say it. 5 or 6 NBA titles.
Yeah, they were 2 years away.
Really think so. And,
like 1 or 2 years away.
The fact that when they blew up, I feel like it destroyed a part of each of those players.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think they've spent the rest of their careers trying to get it back, and now it's too fucking late for I think all of them except for Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously Harden and Durant are on the same team now, but like there's a level of greatness that still feels maybe attainable for Durant that for me, for whatever reason, feels dead for those other two players.
Yeah.
Especially for Russ.
Russ, I don't know what to say about Russ. I mean, if Russ wants to take a role, I'll throw in another example that I'm very familiar with. Take a role like Jason Kidd did in 2010, 2011 with the Mavericks. Like he comes back to the Mavs. He is not expected to be a number 1, number 2, not even a number 3 option on that team.
Yep.
But has a veteran presence, chilled out, was a good part of that game and a really big part of why that team won the 2011 title. If he wants to go somewhere and just like help a team win, just shut up and help a team win.
Yeah.
He could do it. But I don't know if he's got that in him, which is whatever.
The other part of that equation that we, again, have alluded to is the fact that if you really want to talk about Russell Westbrook in comparison to Durant and to Harden, Russell Westbrook has a one-dimensional game. And that has never not been the case. Harden, even on his worst days, can turn out and be nothing but a assist machine if he wanted to. Catch the ball, run the break up, bring up the ball on a rebound, which Russ does fantastically. Which I think if you were to kind of move Russ's game into a different kind of paradigm, into a different kind of box, he is the perfect get the ball off the rebound, catch those long rebounds, sprint down the end of the court on a 2-on-1. No one's going to stop you at that point, right? But he just doesn't want to do that.
I almost feel sad, honestly, because like I actually feel like Harden's ability to get a triple-double is because he watched Westbrook do it so often.
Yeah.
Like, because when you see Harden's triple-double stats, like that, it is crescendoed over the past few years, and that was not part of his game in his early going. I mean, he was just a scorer. And So Russ, I think, has a lot to offer by example. I don't get the sense that he's a teacher, right? He's not someone that's going to come in and coach up a young player about how to do this stuff, even though he's fucking Oscar Robertson. Like, in a lot of ways, this guy at his peak was just this unbelievably physical, rebounding, like a tough player, and it fell apart. And I don't know if it was his fault, and I think he's been mad about it ever since. And like, I mean, that's tragedy to me.
The worst part about all of that is that he can't even blame a Kardashian on it. Like, he can't even be like, I was dating Chloe, and that was when my game went to shit.
It was the curse. Sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't even like, he can't even blame a Kardashian for that shit. That's fucked up. Yeah. Before we get up out of here, I wanted to, and this is a curveball question because I thought about it kind of looking.
It's the wrong sport.
Oh, you're right. Hockey. The curling throwing of the rock to both of you, in terms of, have you seen any of the NBA ref challenge calls happen in the games that you've been watching so far?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen them go to that singular cam where they kind of talk to the audience about what
where
happened?
They talk to me at my house? Yeah.
Tell me if that's not the scariest shit you've ever seen.
It is. It's like they're looking at me.
Yes. I don't
like I don't know why they're looking at me. Like, I know you fucked up already. Like, you don't have to tell me. Like, tell LeBron. Like, I don't know why you're doing this to me.
I remember
it's a weird spot for that camera.
It's such a weird spot for that camera. It's one of the things that I've been looking at every time a game happens. And, you've seen, some of the refs you've seen over your whole life still refereeing in the game. There's one brother who I know, I can't remember his name and I always forget it. But you can tell he is of a certain age in which you should not have the spray on hair. And and seeing him in that camera with the spray on hair is killing me. I am trying to find a picture of it. Literally, while you're seeing me off frame looking at stuff, I'm looking for this damn picture so I can put it into the video for this episode. I will try to find a clip for it for the folks who are looking at the visuals. But I don't like it. It's a scary ass cam. John, what are your thoughts about referee challenge cam?
The referee challenge cam reminds me of, to bring it even another sport into it, reminds me of what the NFL is doing with those in zone high quality film cameras that they're dropping.
Oh, I love that.
They're so good.
See, to me, that is so distracting. It's just like,
I love that.
All right, Kevin Harlan says, all right, that's 18 touchdown passes for Aaron Rodgers. All right, let's cut to the end zone where Devontae Adams is. Yeah, you could just see all the way up into Devontae Adams's nose. Like, it's a weird. I don't know why we've done that with players in the NFL. I don't know why we're doing it with refs. The reason I'm lamenting that the ref cam is happening now is because it feels like the era of the famous shitty referee in the NBA is over.
Yeah, they're
so
all gone.
Like Donaghy's gone because he was a gambler.
Yeah.
What's his face? The little short bald guy that ejected Tim Duncan that I referred to last week. I don't remember his name. Like, these referees that everyone in the consciousness hates are no longer in the game that have to do this bullshit. That's the only thing I really miss. I don't know if it's been that distracting to me because, like, the entire production of nobody in the stands, the plexiglass between the commentators, like, all this stuff is so unbelievably distracting that I don't know if I've been distracted by the ref cam yet.
The plexiglass between the announcers is so fucking funny to me because you can tell when it's been done hastily because as they talk, the fucking plexiglass will go like this, which is really good. But sometimes they do the plexiglass, but there's people in the arena, and it's like, okay, at this point, like, what are you doing? What's the plexiglass for? There's like 4,000 people in this building right now. Like, what are we doing?
Please protect Doris Burke, please.
Oh my God,
please.
When the other night,
I'm gonna have a fit.
Oh my God, when I turned my TV on the other night and I was like, oh, Laker game, baby. And I was like, I wonder who's on the call for this one. And then I was like, oh, it's on ESPN. And I was like, lit, great, cool. And then it was Mike Breen and Doris Burke. I was like,
I know.
yeah,
It's so good.
Yeah, baby. And then
so
we
good.
lost.
Yeah, there's two things that come to mind, and I'll jump back to. Actually, let me start that conversation with the arena stuff. The piped in sounds are weird to me in the worst ways, because it doesn't even reflect the timbre of a game in a way that it's supposed to, where it's just constant, except for the stuff that's like defense, and then offense, like all those kinds of chants. And with the like energy level of all that stuff, I'm like, I wonder how the players feel about that. I would love to actually snag an NBA player to like, does that make it feel better? Does that make it feel worse? Like, are you like basically like drowning it out at this point? Because that part is super weird. And also, back to Doris Burke, it is interesting and funny in a weird way to see so many young dudes on the timeline being thirsty after Doris Burke.
Doris Burke is great. She was like,
so
I think
I love it.
Legitimately the heart and feeling that I have for Doris Burke is because I watched Doris Burke go from when I was a kid being on the sideline to then being like on Sports Center sometimes, and then like making her way like as I grew up to like the announcer desk where she was supposed to be the whole fucking time. Like the number of like women's college basketball games that I watched where Doris Burke was doing the commentary, and I was like, okay, like I know ESPN is throwing her here because they think that women's college basketball is not real,
right,
or important, but like also why are you not putting one of the most talented people on your roster on the most important product you have?
Yeah.
So I think that's like what my attachment to Doris is. Also, one time I saw her do a crossover with heels on.
Yep.
And I was like, you're old. How are you doing that? And that was wild.
It is one of those things I remember very specifically because, of course, if you are familiar with the Black Barbershop, you know that is the place of ultimate conversation. I remember going in watching a ball game at my local barbershop back in the Bronx, and Doris Burke coming onto the screen and kind of like doing the walk across the court before she was going onto her on-air spot. And I have never seen so many 60-year-old dudes lick their lips like it was an LL Cool J video in my life. It is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. I love Doris because Doris is dope. But Doris has the heart of so many of an older black man I've seen.
Doris, come on corner 3.
Please come on corner 3. I would love to have Doris come on corner 3. Oh, that would be such a dope thing.
And it's such a blueprint. Like there should be more. There should be more of this happening. Obviously, but it's like
such a weird.
The NBA at least recognizing that trajectory should happen highlights the fact that like I see sideline reporters like Pam Oliver and Aaron Andrews in the NFL. They've been doing this for ages, and I'm like, every single time Aaron Andrews, especially, I'm like, you know what you are talking about more than 95% of the fucking people on this network. And I don't know if she wants one of those jobs, because like I bet it's a thankless piece of shit job over there at Fox.
Yeah.
But it is frustrating for me to see that. Anyway, that's just my soapbox. Anyway, Doris, come on corner 3.
One of the last things that in talks of distracting things, you talk about the kind of NFL super high res cam. These bullshit how to draw Marvel characters that they put on the bottom of the screen.
Oh my
god! Illustrations of the players are the worst things on the planet. They're horrible. They're not even.
I've watched more. I watched way more of the NFL this season than I kind of expected to. Yeah, and I just think it was because what the fuck else am I gonna do? You know. But yeah, like it is so. Okay, this is not related. Well, okay, watch this. I'm gonna make it related. You watch the NBA on both of the networks that it's on. Well, the 3 if you count the home network. And by and large, it's the same product. Like they look the same. They basically sound the same. The only difference really is the people. It's like a 2K game, basically.
Yeah.
Like they randomize who's in the booth, and then otherwise it's like it looks like a basketball game. The NFL's product looks so different on every single network that they have it on, to the point where it doesn't look like the same thing. And watching a football game on CBS is like watching a football game in 2008.
Yep.
I don't really understand how that's possible.
Yeah. Well, that's because everyone that could have told them how to run their network better died in 2008.
I think every NFL game on CBS passes through the ghost of Brent Musburger.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, how does this actually work in real ways?
It's so wild because like ESPN's college games look better than CBS's national football games, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then Fox has like all of this weird shit, like we put a big satellite on a small camera. Anyway, here's Aaron Rodgers' face is in your house now.
Yeah.
And then it's like it's so inconsistent. I think one of the best things to come out of the bubble, I think, is, and there's no way they're going to stick to this because the teams make too much money off of the courtside seats, but they absolutely, on the near side of the arena, they should take those seats out, and they should just keep the track camera on there.
I tell people all the time that camera is like one of the best things that come out of the bubble, like you said.
It's
one
great.
of the coolest things. Yeah. Because it actually gives you like proper size of what NBA players look like. And I remember they on an out of bounds play, because there's no people in the front, I was like, oh wow, like you really are just a big dude. Like you're just tall as hell and just unreasonably, like who put you together? Anyway. Also,
like you're not afraid to like dive for stuff anymore, huh? Because like you're not gonna get beer on you or kill a person. It is staggering no one's been killed because like an old person hasn't been like killed by like LeBron like flying into the stands. Stands. And then like they just get like their whole sternum crushed in because they've just been crushed because their bones are old and brittle.
It tells you just how nimble all these players are. Like people forget that all these athletes are like kind of freaks of nature in that way. And that kind of stuff. We'll talk about old bones in our next episode. We're going to talk about that for quarter 3, episode 4. And when we talk about old bones, we'll talk about Hubie Brown.
Wow.
Matt loves Hubie Brown.
May you rest in peace.
He needs to not be on broadcast anymore. I love you, Hubie. He's one of my favorite. I love him to death, like for real, but he needs to not be on any more broadcasts. I love you, fan. We're going to get up out of here for quarter 3, episode 3. Again, thank you so much for rocking with us during our show. Again, please, if you're in our Discord, where's our Discord, Nikki?
It's at fanbite.casa.
You can ask us questions about the show, things that you want to hear us talk about, things you want to hear us discuss on upcoming episodes of Corner 3. Again, if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star review and give us some love there. On Spotify, I think you can give us some love as well over on that side of the fence as well. And please hit us up on Twitter. You can shoot things at Fanbite Media. Let them know and let us know all the wonderful things you think about Corner 3 and the work that we're doing over here in the basketball spaces. So we will not have a referee cam on next week's show. We just don't have the budget for it yet. But hopefully...
Well, will the cameras look better, John?
They may.
Yeah, baby.
I believe. Again, thank you, everybody. We'll see you all next week for more Corner 3. We'll get up out of here, and peace.
Hoopin'.